A month later, I have the keys to the dome, the charged esoteric room for the Theosophical Society. I was there for 18 months. It was a very wild ride. It's a very potent, potent place. It was built with a lot of intention. That's why the dowsing rods went off. When at Monroe, we go to focus level 21. I had a flash of that shaman in the dream, and he explains to me that just like we had just learned in our human terms about remote viewing, they had remote viewed into the future, understanding that this place that was very sacred was going to need a helper. We planted the seed so that in the future, you would have a tangible piece of proof and remember. Okay, so he's talking, and then he gets pushed aside, and this larger than life figure comes forth, and it's Madame Blavatsky.
Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra. Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra.
Hello and welcome to Ultra Minds. We are back after a little break, but actually, my last guest that was supposed to be on, we are back with something even more exciting to talk about. So, welcome back, my good friend, Pati Dubroff, who is a makeup extraordinaire, one of the greatest makeup artists of our time, and such an honor to know you. But then we had this incredible experience that we're going to be talking about today. So we were able to go to the Monroe Institute, and there is a crazy story about how we ended up here. So, hello, Patty, and then we'll get into the
Hello.
story. How are you feeling since coming back?
I am feeling well. We've been back now just a few days, and I get it. Being grounded is really, an important thing to remember, because sometimes I'm feeling like in my body and great, and then other moments I'm like, I need help. I'm not comprehending. I'm seeing more. I'm feeling wide open. I don't want to shut myself down, but I also want to find a balance between maintaining the openness and like having my feet planted on this planet Earth and functioning like a good human.
Right. I'm feeling the same way. I actually am surprised how ungrounded and kind of integrating into the physical has been because, doing ayahuasca and doing these other things, which are, seemingly more intense than a meditation retreat, which is essentially what this breaks down to. But it's so much more than that. And actually, like, the integration has been even more intense. So I do want to go back and give a little bit about how we all ended up here with this crazy manifestation. So
Wow.
last year, me, Jennifer Sodini, we went to PRS, the Philosophical Research Society, to see Mitch Horowitz give a lecture on ESP.
Mhm.
And after that, we were in a group chat, the three of us, me, you, and Jen, and we were talking about like, oh, how fun would it be to go to the Monroe Institute? So
Well,
then
let me pause.
Jen,
I'm going to interrupt you
yeah,
because that
yeah.
night, actually, because I had been deep in learning about the Monroe Institute at that time. So when I saw Mitch that night, I said, "Hey, have you been to the Monroe Institute?" And he was like, "Oh man, on my bucket list." So I don't know if you remember, but that night I asked you ladies about, hey, have you heard of Monroe? And you mentioned you'd heard a bit about it, da da da. And then the conversation continued to the manifestation. You go.
So then Jen suggested that we create a pitch deck and reach out to them and have us as a group go as kind of content creators to experience Monroe Institute. Well, this pitch deck never made it to paper, never made it to any type of software. It was never written down, except it was talked about. You guys reached out to Mitch and he was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it. That would be cool." and then it kind of dissolved into the ethers like all great manifestations do. They are manifested and then released, and we were like, "Oh, we should pitch for April." And then like life just happens. Everything has happened so quick. And then next thing we know it, now all these months have passed, and then in May, Monroe Institute reached out to you, to me, and to Mitch completely separately, independent of each other, having no idea that we, one, even know
Yeah.
each other, two, that we planned on going together, and then invited us for a creator gateway week. And so what's funny is that then my wedding was coming up, and you were so amazing to do my wedding makeup. And as we were planning like the time of doing it, you're like, "Oh, I'm listening to that Mark Serto interview that you did cuz I'm going to do Gateway in a couple weeks." And I'm like, "Wait, how are you going to do Gateway? I'm going to go do Gateway." And then I gave you the dates, and then my phone starts ringing and you're like, "No way. How are you also going to be there?" And then you're like, "And guess what? Mitch is gonna be there." I'm like, "This is insane."
Yeah, when I got the invitation to go, it was just in the days before I was going to Contact in the Desert. And I was going there specifically to like go hang out with my new favorite family that I'm like have been adopted into, thank God. The Bledsoe family. So when I got there, Ryan, who has the podcast Bledsoe Said So, who is how I found out about the Monroe Institute in the first place. Um, because he did the Creator Gateway last year. He's like, I had caught as soon as I got invited, I'm like, Ryan, you're not gonna believe this. Oh my God. And so as soon as I got to out into the desert, he goes, "You're not gonna believe this. My sister's going also. Emily's invited."
Oh my god.
And then we they had found out that Megan Solar Glow Meditations dowsing rod girl, that she was also going to be there. And there's another crazy loop in that when I had the keys to the dome, which we'll get into the dome, when I had the keys to the dome, one of the important parts of that foundational story of how the Theosophists decided on this plot of land in Beechwood Canyon is they were dowsing for 6 years across the western states of America to find this charged area, this charged piece of earth to build the utopian community. So dowsing was a really important part of that finding. And so when I was like going down all my rabbit holes, I was looking into, oh, dowsing. I want to know more about dowsing. And when you type in dowsing, Megan comes up in because she's a very kind of celebrated voice in the dowsing divination community now, and she has such a great gift. So then it was discovered that she was also going to be there. And there's more loops.
Oh my
Well, you've
gosh.
got more loops too. I mean, the loops just go on and
There's
on.
there's so many loops because then also, so just for anybody who isn't aware, so the dowsing rods are these copper sticks that you hold, and when you ask questions, it'll say yes or no. But it's also been used for land. It's been used to find vortexes, to
And
find
water.
charged land, to find water. So this is something that has been used. So
It
one
used
other
to
crazy
use
loop.
bamboo rods. I mean, it was like not necessarily metal, it was like whatever was the earth, but people that were able to tap in would use this conductor to show where there was a kind of a energy connection. Mostly,
Right.
mostly in earth, kind of earth, uses with connection to earth.
And so one other crazy connection, and then we'll kind of get into, this plot of land
Mhm.
and what it turned into and your connection to it. But then as I was the first one that arrived at Monroe Institute. So I was there all day. And as people were coming in, I was saying hi to everybody. And I was outside or doing something at one point. So then someone had come in without me seeing them enter. And um I they brought their friend, so I was like, "Oh, hey, are you one of the guests?" And he's like, "No, actually, I just dropped off my friend Chrissy." And it didn't dawn on me of who Chrissy was or could be, and I just when I looked over, I saw the back of someone's head and they had brown hair, and I really just didn't think anything of it. She comes over, and it's Chrissy Newton, who did the show with Mitch Horowitz, who did the Discovery Plus show that I was in Roswell on the show with them. I was mostly cut out of the show, but that's and then also Mitch's partner, Jacqueline, who was also in Roswell. So there was this crazy Roswell UFO UAP connection. And then Bledsoe connection with the UFO UAP, all of these like weird overlapping things. And there was other connections as well, but those were more like the people's families and things like that. But like so that was just shocking. Even Mitch and Chrissy didn't know that each other was gonna be there. So before we get into this dome and this other really crazy connection that has actually been happening in a web in the astral for who knows how long, goes back even 20 years with the work that you, have been doing, but to give like a little side note, because I'm sure people listening are kind of like, well, how did they pick these people? How did you guys all end up there? So they're director of marketing at Monroe Institute. And one thing that is just so awesome about Monroe is that they really like live and embody the things that they're teaching. And they use it at the corporate level, they use it at the business level, they use it towards the marketing. Like they use this through and through. It's not just like for the people that are going. It's like that's how they operate their business, and that's how the people that work there actually do their own problem solving. So the director of marketing, she went to level 12, focus level 12, and we can talk about some of the focus levels later,
Mhm.
but she went to focus level 12, which is a level, an altered state that you go to get solutions or to get answers, and she went and got our names there. And so when we sent that meditation, that manifestation that we're going to go to Monroe and then released it to the ether without taking any action, the set it and forget it of manifestation, she received it in the ethers. And like, she was shocked to see how we all know each other. She's like, this is weird. I can't believe you know this person and you're connected to this person. And so it's really like just goes to show too, like they also live by this. And this was in the ether because they are ether workers. They pulled these names. So now this connection goes far beyond
Yeah.
PRS last year. And so tell us a little bit about your experience with the dome, with the Theosophical Society.
Let's first talk about how you and I met, because it does
Right.
also tie into this, and it
Okay,
ties
so
into PRS and where we're going to go next.
okay, good. So Jennifer Sodini, who I've known digitally for a while, we've been friends, but it was our first time actually meeting in the physical. And she was doing an event which was like about psychedelics at Philosophical Research Society. So I had gone to see her speak. And after that, now I didn't even know that you were sitting behind me that day. So you said the next day that you were sitting behind me in that event, which I didn't even know. And then after that had wrapped, I was kind of exploring the grounds and I was like, oh, cool, the library. Let me look what's in the library. It happened to be a weekly group that they have there that they do some of Manly P. Hall's writings. And the book that they were going over was around Helena Blavatsky's life. And they're comparing it to tarot cards. And so they one of the guys that is like at this event is like sees us there, sees me with my two friends, and he's like, "Oh, hey, do you guys want to join us?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I literally the library of the Philosophical Research
Philosophical.
Society is like literally like I felt like I was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and like in this thing I was like, "Oh my god, of course I want to join your group right now." So they start talking about her traveling, this point of her life. They talk about the Page of Wands as this part of her life. And So that was really my introduction. Her name had always kind of circulated around as kind of like a mother or grandmother of the new age and kind of like the origin of all modern spirituality and all of these different teachings. So her name had floated around, but that was really like, I was like, wow, I'm so intrigued by this woman. And then the next day, I was supposed to go hang out with Jen. And Jen's like, do you know Patty? And I was like, "Actually, I don't know Patty." And then she's like, "Well, Patty has this really cool place that, is in Hollywood, not far from you. Why don't you come along?" And then that's when you and I met, and I then got to experience the dome.
But
So
I didn't know
please tell
Jen.
us about
I
the
had,
dome.
yeah, I had never met Jen in person either. And when I had the dome, it gave me the kind of license and opportunity to reach out to people that I thought were very cool, like-minded, and would be interested. So I also was meeting Jen for the first time in person, and well, I met her the night before at the event because I went to that event to meet her in person. And I said, I'd love for you to come to the dome. And she's like, "Oh, I have kind of plans already, but let me see. Maybe my friend will want to come." I'm like, "Yeah, bring everyone. All good." And then the New Jersey Jen showed up. And we're all from New Jersey, so we definitely like had an immediate like, which exit are you from kind of bond.
Right.
If you're from New Jersey, you know that joke. um all right, so the dome. Okay, so let's go back during the pandemic. Let's go back a little bit more. I've always had, I mean, I've always, in my adult life, since my early 20s, I've had a very um, kind of consistent spiritual practice, meditation practice, and whatever. In During the pandemic time, I was starting to like explore some other paths that I had not paid attention to before because I had time, right? And I was like, becoming interested in Aleister Crowley a little bit. And when you kind of look at that, it leads to Blavatsky and pretty much everything in our kind of esoteric space leads to Helena Blavatsky, Madame Blavatsky. Anyway, so doing that research, I her name, appeared, and I typed it in on this iPad right here, and her face popped up on the screen, and I went, "Whoa." It was like literally like, "Whoa." I was like, "I feel weird. I feel really weird." I called my daughter over and I'm like, "Bianca, look." And she's like, "Mom, that's so weird." She's like, "That looks like you." And it doesn't really, but I understood her. She caught what I felt. Let's put it that way. So that led me to, okay, I need to know everything I can possibly absorb about this being, this person. And um so that was like led me through like trying to get a peripheral understanding of theosophy and who she was. And there's so much lore and stories around her. And what a cool life that woman had. Whether it was true or not, no one knows, but there's a lot of great stories. So during right around that time, I scheduled a reading with a very well-known witch named Amanda Yates Garcia, the Oracle of LA. Do you know Amanda? No. Anyway,
I've
so
met
I
her actually at a Substack
yeah.
event.
Yeah, love her. And so I had a read I was having a reading with her, and I mentioned this Blavatsky thing. I was like, I just feel like I need to ask you what do you know, and who, it's just so strong. And she said, "Oh, yeah, Blavatsky has such an important kind of mark in Los Angeles." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, there's Krotona, which was the Theosophical Utopian Community. And there's the Besant Lodge, which is still an active lodge where they're doing Gnostic rituals and theosophical kind of events." And I'm like, "Wait, right here in Hollywood?" And so that was planted in my mind. I'm like, well, that's weird. I've never heard of these things right here in Hollywood. And yeah, we spend a lot of time in Hollywood. And so then cut to a couple weeks later, I'm at a dinner and I'm sitting next to someone who I've known peripherally for decades. And she says, oh, I moved to Beechwood Canyon recently. And I'm like, oh yeah, where? Well, cool. And she's like, I moved to Crotona. And I'm like, Crotona? She's like, I'm in the dome at Crotona. That was the altar room, the charged meditation space. My mouth is like dropped because I'm like, This is so weird. I have been," because from that time that I was with Amanda until this dinner a couple weeks later, I then, my focus then shifted to learning everything I could about Crotona and, the connection between Hollywood and the Theosophists. I'm like, I can't believe that you're in that space. Can I please come see it? So I went to visit, and the first time I sat in there, I was like, all the only thing I could hear flooding through my mind is, I've been here before, I'll be here again. I've been here before, I'll be here again. And it was like hypnotizing. And I was like, this is wild. So then cut to maybe about a year and a half later, I have a friend from out of town, and the friend had heard all about, this kind of cool Hollywood. She was from Iceland, and the cool Hollywood kind of mystical kind of connections. There's actually an interesting documentary that was done called Holly, sorry, Holywood, Hol 1L Wood, and it's a documentary about specifically this like canyon of Beechwood Canyon and all of its layers of kind of spiritual seekers who have landed here and helped to create the canyon and make it what it is. So in that documentary, I was showing her the documentary, and there's well, the Theosophists that we're talking about, but there's also the Vedanta Center. There's many Buddhist kind of communities here. And it all really started with like, this was Tongva land, very important sacred land to the Tongva, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm showing this friend of mine this documentary, and the person who had been living in the dome prior makes an appearance on the screen and to talk about Crotona. And so take a picture of the screen and I shoot her a text and I'm like, I've got a friend here from out of town. Could I show her the dome, show her Crotona? And the friend writes back and says, oh my God, she says, oh my God, things are changing so fast. I'm giving notice tomorrow. The movers are coming in a week and I'm leaving in a month. And I'm like, whoa, can I call you? What's going on? Are you okay? First of all. So I get on the phone with her. I'm like, are you okay? What's happening? Why I thought this was a plan that she had for years out, not quite immediately. Um, she explained why she was leaving so abruptly. And I was like, who's going to take the dome? And it has to be someone who understands, because that person, when she got in there, she really understood that this place was very special to energetically, historically. She had studied theosophy as a teenager, so she understood the connections. No one else was talking about it. So she created an Instagram page. She dove deep into research to find out everything she could about this incredible property that, really is just an apartment building, but it's a magical apartment building with some really cool architecture. So when who's going to take the dome, it has to be someone who keeps it alive, because she had the altar very much alive and it was enlivened after many tenants where it wasn't really being activated as it could or should. In that moment, every hair on my body stood up. I had full body chills and I was just like, I need an apartment. I need an apartment. I'm gonna move to New York and I need an apartment. I didn't need an apartment, but at that moment in time, I thought I needed an apartment. Please tell the landlord. Please tell the landlord that you have someone to move in. I'll take care of it. cut to a month later, I have the keys to the dome, the charged esoteric room for the Theosophical Society. And it was a really wild, I was there for 18 months. It was a very wild ride. It's a very potent place. It was built with a lot of intention. That's why the dowsing rods went off. That's why they put that dome portal exactly on that plot of land in that place. And everyone who came through there really felt it, that it was something really had a lot of charge. There was a sound frequency, back to sound and Monroe. The center of the dome had an encapsulation of sound. It's an altar room. It was being used by the Theosophists for very kind of no one knows exactly what happened in there. There's no like physical records. Let's just say those that know. And it was being used for bringing forth ascended masters to help with ascended states of consciousness by using sound frequencies, by using light, um, color. Yeah. So I made it my passion project to make that the most beautiful altar in the world, or the most beautiful altar my eyes had ever seen, and to very much keep it alive, and to again, like we were talking about, invite like-minded people who could see it for what it was. It also, the building had not been landmarked, and it should have been historically landmarked because it is the first buildings in Beechwood Canyon and some of the most important structures architecturally, culturally, spiritually. So it became my full-blown mission, and one that I felt like I was handed from presences that are not necessarily living on this planet, a mission that was handed to me to accomplish, to make sure that these buildings had the protections that they desperately need in order to survive the future and not be turned into a parking lot or a high rise or something Hollywood style. Huh.
Wow.
So,
No,
yeah,
it's so incredible, the energy there just from getting to go, and you know what's so funny too is, when I the last time that I went.
yeah, you were one of the last visitors while I still had the
Right, and
keys.
also, it was crazy when Jen and I came the first time, how the little twinkle lights up in the star turned on, and you were like, "I don't even know how to turn those lights on or off. They just randomly sometimes come on and off with no rhyme or reason." And it was like like the energy there is so potent, and you did such a good job to restore it, make it look beautiful
Thank you.
again. And now you also have been a bit of a in the past, you had lived in an ashram and
Mhm.
have been someone who has kept sacred spaces before. So it's like,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about how this actually kind of started many years ago before you were anywhere connected to the dome?
Well, yeah, and that's, I in my meditations at Monroe really saw all of the breadcrumbs and seeds that were planted and how it brought me to that place, and what those connections that were made within that place are then propelling to the future. So okay, here's a couple of the magical dome stories. There's many, and we could keep talking for like 3 hours, and there's so many stories. But one of the biggies is when I received the keys, um, the condition of the space when I received the keys was not ideal. The person who lived there before me, as much as her heart was very devoted and her intentions were very good, her practices and maybe hygiene were a little, different than how Others would do things. So there was, it was really in bad. It was falling apart. It was literally falling apart. There was no glass on the windows, which meant that the rats had come in and burrowed through things and left rat shit everywhere. And there was beautiful vines that had come through the windows and were vining around the ceiling and such, but it was also like dragging down the plaster of the ceiling, and there was water damage, and it was like it was a mess. And when I got the keys and saw it in that state, because when I had visited in the prior times, it all looked very sparkly and magical and beautiful, and sparkly and magical and pink. It was very pink. Um, but then when to see it stripped and devoid of that kind of glamour, let's say, and the reality of it, it was a harsh, like it was harsh. I came across, so in those first days, I came across a journal that I had kept from 20 years to the day before I was sitting in the dome. And that journal was, it was dream work. It was a journal of dream work that I had been doing. I was working with a very specific dream coach. Um, and I opened up the journal, and the first page of that journal, the dream was called The Igloo. And in that dream, I say these words, I'm going to paraphrase, but I say these words: I'm in an igloo. It should be sparkling white, but it's covered over in brown debris, shit, mold. I say those words. Um, I should be doing something else, but here I am. That was always the thing with the dome. I always should have been doing other things, but I was always like, once when I was in there, it was always the thing I just couldn't leave. It was like a, this kind of energy thing that would just keep me there. So in the dream, it says I should be doing other things, but here I am. A man is walking towards me. He's a shaman. He has all this equipment. He tells me that I need to restore this place. It needs to be sparkling white. He suits me up, and he gives me a ladder so that I can clean the entire thing. And I remember writing in the dream something to the effect of, I'm so afraid that these harsh solvents are going to destroy this fragile ice house. So then it cuts in the dream to, I guess I cleaned it. I realized that oh my God, the shaman, I write in the shaman, he is an otherworldly figure. And then, the dream fades away. And then I guess in my analysis of the dream, I think, oh, maybe this is about preparing my womb. Because my husband and I had been thinking about having a baby then. Um, so maybe this is about preparing my womb. It's an igloo, should be clean. I find that journal 20 years to the day where I'm sitting in the dome in what should be a sparkling, clean place, but it's covered literally in mold shit. Mhm. So I mean, that was intense for me. I'm like, this is just feels like a fucking crazy time loop. Um, it, it was also, yeah. So, okay. Anyway, so in one of the meditations during Monroe, when we went to focus level, no, actually, I'm going to say, so I just realized something. That dream had
Mhm.
happened 21 years before I was sitting in the dome. I wait, because I got the number wrong, because the dream also happened 20 years before I gave birth to my daughter. My daughter's born in April
Oh, okay.
of 2023. That dream was April 2022. I'm sitting in the dome April 2023. So there, no, I'm sorry. The dream happened in 2002. I'm in the dome 2023. That's 21 years. 21 years.
Oh my God.
I have a 21 tattooed on me. Okay. So when all of that happening, I'm like, okay, this is weird, blah blah. When we're at Monroe, we go to focus level 21. And in focus level 21, I decide that I'm going to, I think I had a flash of that shaman in the dream. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can talk to him and see what he can tell me. So he appears and he explains to me that just like we had just learned in our human terms about remote viewing, what they had done is they had remote viewed into the future, understanding that this place that was very sacred was going to need a helper. So he said, we planted the seed for you to write about so that in the future you would have a tangible piece of proof and remember. He said it was we planted a seed, and he said we hoped that you would, accept it, but he said but there's free will, so we didn't know. Okay, so he's talking and then he gets pushed aside and this larger than life figure comes forth, and it's Madame Blavatsky. And she says, darling, darling. And she was almost like, oh, here you are, darling. And she's like, very like, la la la, and then she explained to me how she showed me how, yes, that was a seed. That was a seed. But then she showed me other signs that she left along the way, physical proof, so that I would believe in the manifestation and that I would kind of show up and do the thing, really. She showed me these connections. And then she started showing me faces of people that I had met because of the dome. And she said, this is your soul family. You needed to reel them back in so that you could, do the work for that place, but for the future. So she's showing me faces. I see your face. I see, some other friends. Jessica Hunley, who's very important in my life, from the Library of Esoterica series, very important in my life. I met through the dome. Another friend is Stara, who had given me the Monroe tapes on a bootleg. Anyway, she shows me Mitch's face, because Mitch I had met because I invited him to the dome because I knew that he was like a huge Blavatsky stan. She shows me Mitch's face and she said, please give Mitch a hug for me. So then she showed me more of these connections. I kind of got a glimpse into how they would manifest into the future, but it all started to make sense. And then she also told me about what I need to do moving forward with like the beautiful altar items from the dome that have been sitting in boxes literally for quite a long time now since I moved out. And boom, I came out of that meditation and it was like my whole life made sense. And I think you remember I entered the debriefing room a little bit late. I was usually like always the first one there or right on time. So for me to enter once everybody else was there was like, oh, I'm late, oh my god. And I walked straight up to Mitch and I gave him a hug and I said, Madam Blavatsky wanted me to give you a hug. And then I shared the experience with the group, and it led to us having a piece of Mitropedia reminding us that the reason without Madame Blavatsky, we would not be sitting in that room. We would, all of us as seekers from the West, would not be together and would not be doing what we were doing if it was not for her. So how's that for a download?
Oh my gosh. And there's just so many things in there too, like this connection to the number 21, it happening in level 21, you having this
Can
20.
you see my phone?
Wow, 444. Yes.
Sorry.
Which is the necklace that I wore the whole entire time at
Mhm.
Monroe that I didn't take off for the entire time. And it's just like all of these crazy connections. And it really like, you
Soul
know,
family.
this web. this greater web of what is happening, of how all of these little pieces are falling into place that is like sometimes even it's like kind of described as almost like a game of dominoes, and like one domino doesn't know what
Mm.
domino is falling on the other side of the board, but they're all click 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 click, everything is to the next thing, and it's turning into this beautiful image in the end, but we have no idea that this other domino somewhere else is clicking, or that our moment of either like showing up somewhere early, showing up somewhere late, being at PRS that day, me also being there, like all of these little dominoes always they have this greater web always falling into place. And one thing
Yeah.
that I really got out of when you shared this in the debriefing room after was, and this is something that I've thought about a lot, is really, people are always asking, when I do videos about different things, people are always like, yeah, but what about free will versus destiny? Is it predetermined or is it free will? And it's both, and I'm a very big believer that it's both. But when you said that, like the overwhelming kind of message that I got from it was like, oh, sure, we have free will, but free will is almost the lesser option than the destiny, and it's
You
like
cut out. Say it again.
surrendering.
You cut out for that piece. Say it again. What you just said.
Like, it made me realize that, like, free will is almost like the lesser option, and
Mm.
that, like, in the early stages of spirituality, it's like free will is very empowering. I'm creating my destiny, I'm creating my path, and then as you go on and surrender and heal more and understand more and allow more to happen, it's like, "Oh, actually, like, free will is the lesser choice of the 2." And it when you said that the shaman and Blavatsky had said that to you in the meditation, that, well, we didn't know if you were going to because you have free will. It was like, oh gosh, this is like the confirmation that, like, go with that little instinct. Do that thing that sounds crazy, like get an apartment in Hollywood that you don't need, that is falling apart, that's going to cost you a ton of money to restore,
Ton
and
of
is going to
money.
be. And the other thing too about the 18 months, which comes back
It
to
was
Aleister Crowley, which did the
two birth cycles. Oh, and yes, the Abramelin
which
working
is
was
the,
an 18-month
yeah,
working.
which is his famous, ritual, which is so funny because after I left the dome, I got a candle and I did this little, little ceremony for myself. Because when I was at the dome, I kept getting the idea, go to Pan's Apotheca. That last day that you were there, go to Pan's, go to Pan's, go to Pan's. So I went to Pan's, I got a candle, and I was very drawn to like get this Jupiter candle because it was like Jupiter retrograde and it was my Jupiter return. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. They were all sold out. Vicky at Pan's Apotheca, I was like, "Oh, you're all sold out of the Jupiter candle." She's like, "Oh, I'll make you one." She's like, "But why don't you grab one that's half yellow? Why don't we also call in Leo for it?" Her not knowing that I'm a Leo and that she wanted to also work with the sun. I get this candle. I had a whole crazy thing that happened with this candle that actually kind of freaked me out a little bit. I've talked about it on my live stream before and some of the other videos. So I won't get into that story, but I kind of got a little freaked out because I've never had something like that happen. So the next morning, well, like literally, I was calling Marcella at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, Marcella, I don't know what just happened, but some weird shit just happened with this candle. And then I was like, do I finish burning it or do I let it go? And I was like, well, what about that Aleister Crowley thing where he didn't finish the ritual? And it was that same ritual. So then she sent me all this information about it. And then I realized that it was that same 18-month thing that you had just told me about. And it's funny that Marcella is also like in this web of all of these connections to these same people. And it's just like, it's and then so, like you had said before, there's some debate on whether, Blavatsky's life is, like, the real thing. I believe it because look how crazy our lives are. Look how crazy just the last 6 months have been.
The
So
past
and
week. I don't know if I told you this part about the Abramel. It was called the Abramelin
Yes.
working.
Yes.
And so when I first moved into the dome, one of my neighbors at that time was Brian Butler. Brian Butler is he was Kenneth Anger's kind of like assistant slash like co-creator. And Brian is a very kind of has been a very like kind of devotee to Crowley. very like, he's very open about that. I was, when I first arrived, it was like within my first few days, I met my neighbors and I'm like, I'm going to go over to Pan's Apotheca to get some things. Do you want anything? You need anything? I'm going. And he asked me to pick up abromelin oil. She would have it.
Oh my God.
So I got one for him and I got one for the box for the altar. And it lived
Oh
in the
my God.
box. I never told you that. So yeah,
And then
gulp.
the 18 months. Oh my God. Like it's unbelievable.
And
Okay, I
again,
do want to go back. Uh-huh.
I mean the dream I had, I had interpreted it as a womb, clearing situation. 18 months is 2 womb cycles. It's a 9 month,
Gosh.
and then no.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I do wanna fill in I wanna fill in some people listening, give them a little bit of context about, like, what focus level 21
Yeah.
means.
Mhm.
So, at Monroe, which was honestly, oh my god, the
Life
most
changing.
life-changing experience, like, you said in one of the, debriefings that you've been meditating for 35 years, and this was beyond anything that you've experienced in a
I
meditative
f-
state, and you were living
yeah,
in an
I felt
ashram.
like 35 years of meditating and spiritual like practices was like preparing me to be able to take in what I received from these Monroe practices. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my god, incredible. So, for a little background for people listening, so Monroe Institute was founded by Robert Monroe, and they developed the HemiSync technology, which then later became binaural beats, and then now they've really evolved it far beyond binaural beats, beyond HemiSync, and now they call it really,
Monroe
Monroe
Sound
Sound
Science.
Science.
Yeah.
'Cause with technology, they've been able to really bring these things to a new level than just 2 different frequencies, and I'll get more into that in some other videos. I wanna go deep into the science of it, but so that people can understand the focus levels. So basically, he kind of created names of these different levels that you reach that are just neutral, not like, Akashic records or this, like, which we have so much associations with. So he gave very neutral names to these different states of altered consciousness. And you get to these states so quickly by just listening to these sounds. So level 10 is the first level that you get to, which is body asleep, mind awake. Feels great. I love it. It's a hit. Level 10 is amazing. And then next is level 12, which is a place where you can get solutions, answers, questions, and then level 15, which
Expanded,
is my favorite.
expanded awareness is level 12.
Yes, 12 is expanded awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
Yes. And then level 15 was my favorite. That's my jam right there, which is outside of time and space. And anything can really happen outside of time and space. And these levels also build upon each other. So they have like the kind of properties of like the levels below as well. So then the next one that we went to in the gateway experience was level 21. So level 21 is outside of time and space, but it's actually a place that they say is a bridge kind of between outside of like our world that we're able to reach, and then this other kind of higher world can come to this level. So it's kind of like a bridge meeting point outside of time and space, but also outside of kind of the human experience as well.
Beyond the
So
density of our like human experience, we're able to like, yeah, get out of the density so we can meet halfway for those beings that are of a higher frequency.
and then it's crazy that, not only is 21 your like lucky special number that keeps coming up in your life, but then this was also the level that you were at that you got the awareness, but 21 years before going to the dome, you got like that glimpse of it, which really just shows like honestly, Monroe Institute is so underrated and so humble for what they are doing. Like if this was anybody else, they would be like shouting from the rooftops the level of what is truly happening there, but they're just so, like, genuine and humble, and they're kind of like, it speaks for itself, and your experience speaks for itself, and it's like, they don't need to kind of sell it as what I wanna sell it as like, "Oh my god, you guys, this is beyond anything that I've experienced, even with plant medicine, even in, these other types of practices."
And
I mean,
even
it's
for
truly
people,
life-changing.
yeah, and even for people that weren't necessarily having big visions, like I was so fortunate to have big visions. It's something I prayed for so long. I have, had a spiritual practice for so long, but I would always go to a medium to help me connect with my guides. Literally, like I would be like, who are my guides? How do I connect with them? Like feeling this disconnect from, what I got the vision of a very long chain of
Mhm.
beings who are there for me to call upon. I saw very clearly. So, and back to even for people that didn't have big visions, they had life changing experiences. There's subtle levels of experience. There's levels of experience that some can be very subtle, quiet, and others can be big, like, whoa, I've seen God, literally. And then everything in between, but everyone walked out of there transformed.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know what was really special about Monroe is obviously, this is a lot of brain work, a lot of mental work, a lot of consciousness work, but it's really so beyond, like, the head, because a lot of what is explained, a lot of what is talked about is kind of the mental stuff, the visual stuff, the consciousness stuff. But the thing that, I feel I don't want to get lost in the description of it is the heart of it, that,
Mm.
like, the love, the
Foundation.
kindness, the what matters is the relationships, and there's so much talking about, like, we were lucky enough to have Joe McMoneagle be able to,
Mhm.
like, bu like, I mean, we can't there's not enough time in a podcast to talk about everything that happened. It's incredible. But all of his wisdom, the most advanced, best remote viewer in the world, proven, been tested, to come back from all of these insane mental, psychic, consciousness experiences and to say that the most important thing is what we take with us when we die, which is our experience and our relationships. It's really
Love,
all comes down to love. It comes
love.
down to kindness. It comes down to helping people. And it's like, I know it sounds, if for people who aren't in it, that it's kind of like, oh, like almost cheesy or like this, but it really is because the way that, like, experiencing all of these really expanded states, it just becomes more like what matters. And that really is all that matters. Like you said in your video, is like and we all were coming back to these same messages, having a wide range of experiences in meditation. Everybody was coming back to the same thing of like, you know what? Kindness, love,
Love.
help people.
Let go of
Be
fears.
there.
Let go of our
Yes.
fears. Yeah.
Yes, letting go of fear was a big one,
Yeah.
and
Big one.
really, that we're always connected about how relationships and, the other thing that I really appreciated of it was that, I've read all the books of, like, the afterlife stuff, the hypnosis, Journey of Souls, Dolores Cannon, and everything that comes up in these meditations and everything that comes up in these teachings, and it's very simple teachings. They don't go like in what is the truth, but what comes up for everybody is the same message that consistently comes up in all practices in meditation from east to west, everywhere. These same principles of really, it's love.
Love. That's all there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
connection that we have with others, and that's what we and, it's so interesting too, for us to all be there, like, as creators, and the internet and the digital is what brings us there, and then it's like, then being in a room together, nobody's on their phones, nobody's filming anything, nobody's doing the stuff, and we're all just, like, holding that space with each other and witnessing each other's transformation and witnessing each other's epiphanies. It's honestly was so beautiful. Like, honestly, the only thing I can compare it to is plant medicine, and it's
Mhm.
completely sober, completely in
Completely,
control, which I
completely sober. Yeah.
and the control too, like, even though you surrender, you're completely in control, unlike plant medicine where you are not in control of your body. You're not
Right.
in control of your thoughts. So this is like a very, like, safe, profound way, and actually, I think that's why the integration has been maybe a little more intense than doing it on a substance like ayahuasca or iboga or
Because that's like
bufo,
a
because
ride
it's
that you're like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
This,
this
yeah.
so, like, is real. This is a completely real experience, and even to talk to, some of the people from the other program, so we did Gateway, but some of the other people on the campus were doing Discovery, and they also had these super healing, profound experiences, not doing the same tapes as us. So it's really like the way that they've been able to master understanding what these brain waves are, and once people kind of get to these cohesion of brain waves, the same information always comes through for all of us about
Yeah.
love. Love
Connection.
yourself, love others. Yeah,
I'm,
connect. There's
you
nothing to
know,
be afraid of.
in the few days since I've been back, the nature, that's another one. And really important. It's really
Mhm.
important for us to be connected to this earth that we, reside upon and the nature of this earth. And, in these, when I've gone out for walks, I've just felt this like more of a presence and connection to the nature. I was on a walk today and I saw a raven kind of a little bit afar,
Mm.
and it was sitting in one place. It was on the ground up a hill, and it was squawking and squawking, and I was watching it, and I was like, God, I really wish I understood what he was saying because he's got a lot to say. And then I walk up around the corner, and he flies and he perches right on right in front of me, right in front of where I'm walking on a ledge. He's right there and he's squawking and he's talking to me. And so I'm like, I move a little bit closer so I can sit and I'm hoping I don't scare him away. He's not scared. I move closer. I'm sitting within feet of him and he's talking to me, squawking, squawking, talking, talking. And I'm just like, listening and kind of talking back. And it was like, it was different. I don't know that if a month ago I was on a walk on that same trail, if I would have taken the moment to actually listen to what Mr. Raven was saying, and if Mr. Raven would have felt like he was safe enough to get close to me to talk to me. Like something has shifted. And I feel like everything in my life has shifted. I came back feeling like and telling whoever will listen, I'm a different person. I'm just now like I'm in the same body, I'm in this same life in this world and whatever, but I'm a different person. So how that, will kind of continue to unfold is really exciting, a little scary too, but very exciting. Can we talk about the last night,
Yeah,
the final
please.
night, um,
Yes.
around the fire? we went into we decided to do an outside meditation in a group, and because we had all been meditating, when you do these focus levels and these meditations, you're alone, you're with your headphones, you're in your little cubby unit, and then you all converge to debrief, but we were doing them alone. So we thought it would be really nice to get the group together, and there's this great like fire pit and chairs, perfect amount of chairs in a circle. It was the new moon. So there was nothing in the sky except the stars and the orbs. Can we talk about how many incredible orbs we saw, all of us
And
witnessed.
the honor to be able to do it with Emily Bledsoe, and anybody who is aware of UFO of God, the Bledsoe family has been connected to the lady, to this presence, to these orbs, and has been able to call them in these different experiences. So having Emily guiding us through the sky watching was such an honor, and to kind of hold the confidence and kind of like dispel the doubt away, and to really like guide people to be like, no, trust it, keep your eyes open. And it was incredible, like seeing all
Incredible.
of these different things. And of course, everybody, there's different people who are a little more on the skeptical side in the group, who everybody's going to take the experience from that, whatever they want to define what they saw was. But it is undeniable that we
It
saw a
was
lot of stuff
a
happening in
lot,
the sky.
so much happening in the sky, so much at different kind of levels and brightnesses and speeds. And yeah, it was really incredible. And the meditation that we did was level 18. It was all about the heart. So we were very rooted in the place of the heart when we were there underneath the dome of the sky, witnessing the magnificence of all that there is. That's so beyond just these physical bodies. We're not it. It's not just all there is.
Right, and it was just so, like, kind of almost like the physical manifestation too of what we had all been experiencing, of these, like, different energies coming in, different lights coming in. Some people were talking about loved ones, guides, things from their past, other people that they were
Interdimensional
connected to.
beings.
Yeah. Oh, well, the alien connection with all the UAP people there and UFO people and abductees. There was a lot of talk as well of people seeing different things related to aliens in their different focus levels. So it was interesting too, is that it was almost like that, like us all gathering around in the circle was like the physical manifestation of what we had been experiencing individually, but connected in our different rooms, which is cool because, also another thing that people who've never been to Monroe, you go into like your check unit, which is like a little cubby, and like you're all in your own space for these meditations. We do not come into the same room to do them. And then you also sleep in the same place that you're doing these meditations. So it really is this interesting experience that you are individually in your own space, but then a lot of people are connecting in the astral, seeing each other in the astral and
Yeah.
having weird awareness of the other person. And then it would line up and someone will be like, hey, did you? And people are like, actually, I did. And so it was so beautiful that we got to, like, on the last night, be able to all sit around the fire and do a meditation in person together, and then look up and kind of see the physical manifestation of all of the different lights and levels and connections, and everybody kind of getting their own interpretation out of what they were experiencing. Like, honestly, even the facilitators were like Maya saying at the end that she was like, this week was so crazy. She was like, this was like psychedelic in a completely sober sense. That she was like, even me, who's not doing the meditations, had to keep saying, is this real? Like, is like, whoa, this really happening, from these connections that we had before coming, the connections there, the connections in the astral, and then what is going to happen now? Like, we're all
Well,
intertwined,
and
connected.
our beautiful kind of WhatsApp group where we are still connected and we're still sharing experiences and images and how we're kind of coping in our lives and insights and I believe we will share forever. That, we are like
Mhm.
really, the connections are so beautiful, and that will ripple out into all of our lives,
Right,
and like out
right.
into the world because of this like kind of magnificence that we've been so fortunate to witness.
And another crazy
Yeah.
thing that I didn't tell you, but I wanted to ask if you've had this experience since coming home. A lot of people that I've talked to, so people very close to me, 2 of my best friends and my sister, all since I've talked to them are like, "Oh, while you were there, I had this really weird dream about you that was very unlike my regular
Oh,
dreams." And then so a lot of people who are very closely connected to me were having full-blown weird dreams about me while in Monroe, and they were like, "It was just so unlike," and, like, some of them were kind of like, "I was barely in the dream. Like, I was watching
wow.
you." They're like, "I didn't understand what
Wow.
was happening." So it's interesting that, like, I also feel like, similar to, like, the family constellations concept that, like, when
Mhm.
you do this, like, family constellations work, it ripples out in the quantum to the whole family, to the whole lineage. I honestly feel like that is happening to the people in our lives. Because since coming back, the people not only am I changed, not only are you changed, not only are all of us new people, the people around I'm seeing have changed, and it seems like their reality has shifted, and not to say that that's, me, but it's like it ripples out
Ripples out,
into
yeah.
everyone in our reality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we are all interconnected on so many levels of being. Yeah, not just
We're so
in the
lucky.
physical body.
Right,
So
and we
lucky.
are we are more than our physical body, as Robert
Yeah,
Monroe says.
that is like of the core kind of statements of Monroe Institute, the only one that really matters is you are more than your physical body. That's it. And with
Mm,
that, I mean, it's so simple, it's so profound. And when you
mhm.
experience it, it's like it's aspirational to kind of get beyond just like all the heavy stuff that we feel in this body and take a few moments a day to like get out of it. And then when you come back in, you feel lighter. You feel like you have a kind of clearer perspective.
Right, and of course, maybe not everybody knows how to get out of their physical body, but it's almost like get out of the head first.
Mm.
Get out of the
Then you
head,
go
drop
through
to
the
the
head
heart.
to get out of the head.
Yeah. And it's like, you know what? Just like really think about like the connections and the relationships in your life. Think about the friendship, the coworker that you talk to, the,
The
person that you
cat you
met at
love
this
so
thing.
much,
Yeah, like
your
that's what matters.
animals.
And just take a moment for that each day. And honestly, everything is gonna make sense and fall into place eventually, because that is all that matters. You don't need these crazy experience we're so blessed to have these crazy experiences, but also, like, the simple is what it all comes down to. It's like you go all the way out to be like, "Oh, the original thing is all that matters anyway. This was all just a
Yeah,
journey and all just for fun."
yeah, exactly. And yeah, and paying attention to the kind of synchronicities in life.
Mm,
That's like so important. And I think when we're kind of so caught up in, the flurry of life, we miss the synchronicities. And the synchronicities are where the kind of like seeds are planted and the
mhm.
threads are kind of the connective threads are leading to these like magical realizations.
Right, and don't dismiss them, like, me learning about Helena Blavatsky the night before meeting you, going to the dome, which is the dome connected to Theosophy, which is her teaching, and then the next day, Mitch Horowitz posting a picture of her apartment in New York City. And it was just like, and at that time, I was like, this is crazy. This synchronicity is so crazy. I just heard about this last night. Now I'm here in the space. Oh, Mitch is posting this.
Mhm.
Little did I know the way that these synchronicities in less than a year are unfolding into something else. And it's like we overlook the magic when we overlook those synchronicities. And then when something does happen, this is literally was the most magical thing ever, like, noticing those synchronicities along the way is what makes it really special.
Yeah. I mean, again, back to my vision in the meditation, I saw very clearly how all these kind of connective synchronicities have lined up. And it was like it was like the matrix. I mean, it was a matrix of kind of like this is how your life is, kind of how you're moving through this like web of life. I mean, all these connections. It's really beautiful. Whew.
And so kind of one thing that I'll end on is during that also same meditation, I had a moment where Dolores Cannon came forward, which is, crazy for anybody listening, knowing my connection to Dolores, whether, people take it or leave it, whatever they feel that is, because I know sometimes I hear people say that and I can maybe get into my head about that experience. And she had a very similar quick message. It was very quick. She came forward and kind of said thanks, and also like everything's connected. Every single thing, like it's all connected, every single thing. And then Sarah Brexman Cosme, who is a QHHT practitioner that works with her family and carries on her work, I did an interview on this podcast with her, and I asked her, has she connected with Dolores on the other side through hypnosis? And she said what Dolores said from the other side was the biggest thing that shocked her after crossing over was really how connected everything is, that it's not just the soul family. It's not just your family members. It's not just your friends. It's not just the people you work with. She's like, it's literally every single person, every single thing. And she's like, it's so much more complex than a human mind can even understand. And that
Mm-hmm.
was like her biggest message from the other side, was that it's not just your soulmate, your soul family, your friends. She's like, it's every single person. It's every single moment. It's every single thing is a big web. So it was so interesting, this kind of message of these people who brought so much information forward in this life are like, you won't even believe how complex this is.
Yeah, and then like that just makes me think like if everything, if not because everything is so interconnected, that's why kindness is absolutely crucial, because everyone that we come across is part of this connective web. And, don't we wish that the powers that be and those that run the mechanisms of government and blah, blah, blah could also see that if we could just be kind and accept one another, we could live on a more kind of beautiful, kind of harmonious planet? Yeah, yeah. Just be
Well,
kind,
Patty, thank you
people.
so much.
Just be kind, people.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience here, also for being part of my experience. And oh my God, everything from meeting you, knowing you, our friendship, it goes even deeper by us getting to spend this time together and getting to like experience this together, and also where it's going. Like everything is like still emerging. So I'm so grateful for you, for knowing you, and all that you are. Like, we didn't even get into like your other stuff in life, which is
No,
you are
who
such
cares?
a forget about
I
that. None of that
focus.
matters. No. But but really you being also just like, and I've said it to you, and when I walked up to Emily talking to you at Monroe, she was saying the exact same words that I had said to you previously, when and that you really are just like someone who is anchoring in this space and beauty that is so healing for women, healing for the collective, and like really anchoring in like inner beauty is the true beauty, and that's what radiates out. And we'll in the future get deeper into that, talk about that, maybe do another episode at some other time, because you are the master of that, and I really feel that that is another aspect of your purpose in this life, is like this, which is why of course you're also the greatest makeup artist on top of it, because who better than the person who anchors in like what true beauty is in this world. So I love you so much, and I so
I love you,
appreciate you.
Jen. Mm,
I love you so much.
I love you
Okay,
so
well, thank
much.
you
You
so much
are
for
you are
doing
my
this.
sister, soul sister.
Mm. And
This
everybody,
is
I'm gonna
fun.
post Patty's stuff below, and you got to check her out. I mean, she's
Mhm.
just multifaceted. This is one tiny little slice of the magnificence of you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank
I
you.
love you. Be
I
kind,
love
people.
you.
Love is all there is.
Thanks for listening to Ultra Minds with JK Ultra, where every Thursday we come out with a new interview interviewing some of the greatest minds in spirituality, consciousness, aliens, conspiracies, astrology, and so much more. And make sure you check out my Tuesday Night Live every Tuesday night, where I do a live stream and we do a Q&A and we go a deep dive into topics like the simulation theory, shadow work, spiritual bypassing, spiritual gurus turned cult leaders, aliens, my own experiences, and so much more. So make sure you subscribe, put on notifications, and if you would like to support my work, you can also become a subscriber to my Substack, which is $11 a month at jennifercarmody.substack.com. And once a month for our paid subscribers, we do a live event where we do a group hypnosis, a group meditation, or a group manifestation exercise. And thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe, comment, do all the things, all the YouTube stuff.